Yeah. We gotta rise up. Rise up. Yo. Go for broke, give everything, better yet give your all. They don't wanna see you win, nevertheless you'll evolve. Wanna see my demise, you can be in for a surprise. Cause the sun ain't about to set, now it's about to rise. Come hell or high water, we gotta rise up. I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the Stage is Mine podcast, presented to you by Y.E TV. This week is my honor and privilege to bring on the podcast speaker, author, First Lady Shaletha Sanders. Shaletha, how are you doing?
I am great. How are you doing?
Doing very well. I'm just so honored and delighted to have you on the podcast. We go way back from our time at the Trinity Broadcasting Network. So we'll start it off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, thank you for having me on your show. I am Shaletha Sanders. I am a wife. I wear a lot of hats. I'm a mother. I am the leading lady of Faith Empowerment Center. I am an author. I've written 2 books. I'm a philanthropist. I'm a counselor resident. Listen, the list goes on and on. I do a lot in the community. I believe in community work, so I go out into the trenches. So I do a lot. Yeah,
definitely. I was reading in your bio that you are a native of Columbus. So what was life like growing up in Columbus, Ohio?
So for me, well, my family, actually all of my family lives in Buffalo, New York. And so my parents, they're natives of Buffalo, New York, and they moved here. My father was in the service and he moved here so that we can have a better life. So we were all born here, myself and my other 3 siblings. So Columbus, Ohio, to me, it was a place that I can remember running through the neighborhoods, going to the recreation center, church. I'm a Pentecostal Assemblies of the World baby, so I'm a PAW baby. We were always in church. So religious was kind of the foundation for our household. My father, he was a deacon in the church. My mother was like an usher. And so he believed in going to church. Education was another thing. He believed in sending his children to school. So we went to school every day. We all graduated from college. Actually, we all have a master's in something. My sister has a JD in law. So education was very important in our household as well. Just remember going to Thompson's swimming pool. I don't know if anybody is listening from Brittenell area, but that was our local swimming pool that we went to. Was an indoor swimming pool. I remember it was like 35 cents to get in. So, and I couldn't swim, but I just wanted to be in the water. So that was something that we frequent on the bus. I remember getting on the COTA bus. My kids don't know anything about riding the bus. So I remember taking the number 9 from Brittenell to Northern Lights. And I loved to shop as a little girl. So we would take the bus there because at 14, I was working at Dairy Queen up the street on Hope. Shout out to Dairy Queen. They're no longer there. So being able to go to Northern Lights, go shopping, and just, not used to a lot of crime or anything like that, just enjoying life as a little girl. That's what I remember growing up in Columbus.
Yeah, my first time coming to Columbus, I was 18. So I actually remember like City Center Mall and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a mall we frequent too.
Okay. Now, how did you and your husband meet?
So, and I want to give him a shout out to Bishop Joel Sanders, the love of my life. We were high school sweethearts. So we attended Northland High School, shout out Northland Vikings. And I remember I was 16 and he was 17. And I was walking down the back hallway. He gonna get me for this, but I was walking down the back hallway where the art classes were. And he approached me. And, he was, his rap or whatever, his game or whatever. And so I thought he looked cute, and handsome. He was tall, dark, and handsome. And so from there, we just started, going out, and we dated for some time on and off. And then I moved away and went to Canisius College in Buffalo, New York. And so I was there for a while, and he stayed for like a semester. Really did not enjoy the college life there. I guess I was homesick. So I came back and went to Ohio State. And then we, kind of linked back up, and history was made from there.
Okay. Now, fast forwarding, obviously that you and your husband pastor churches. So tell us about, your service there at Faith Empowerment Temple and everything that, Center, I'm sorry, and everything that you guys are doing there.
So I'm so grateful to be the leading lady of Faith Empowerment Center. So prior to the pandemic, we did in-person services. So we're doing it online now. And so there's a lot that we do, because I believe in church is a community, and we're supposed to help the community. And that's what Jesus Christ did. And so if we're supposed to be like him, then we're supposed to follow in his footsteps as his disciples. So with that being said, we do a lot at Faith Empowerment Center. We pass out backpacks to children. They're full with school supplies for grades K through 12. Those are for children that are maybe less fortunate, or parents may be in a bind. So we help, lessen the load for those parents. Also, we do Thanksgiving dinners. And so this is for the community, where we've partnered with First Link. So there's a lot of people from all over Central Ohio that are in need, people that are in the suburbs, people that are in the low income housing areas as well. So we have a dinner, the saints come together, and we prepare like a home cooked meal right in the church. So we service them as well. We also, during Christmas, we partner with Toys for Tots. So we give out toys to children ages 0 through 15. And so we've partnered with like some of the local pizza shops and Walmart and Sam's. And so they donate food as well. So when they come, one thing I like about the Christmas time is I like when the kids come and they're able to actually pick out their toys. So we usually give 2 toys per child.
Okay. So what do you love so much about giving back to the community? Because I remember managing the TV station. I came out to an event that you had at the library, I think, and you were giving out backpacks and things of that nature. So I know that's something near and dear to your heart. So what do you love so much about it?
So, and I think you're referring to the Y.E.S group, which is our youth empowerment sessions. So previously I was a probation officer, and I've worked with our youth, and, they label them as delinquent youth. And so for me, I was always that one that wanted to work with the underdogs, the people, or the youth or adults where people kind of throw them to the side. They may not look like me, they may not dress like me, they may not talk like me, but they're still human beings, right? So the passion behind that is working out in the community and coming face to face with youth who are, low income. They don't have just simple school supplies. And then with all of the crime that still is increasing in Central Ohio, and just being able to put those services or those resources in those low income areas, because, I really do care about the youth. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Just for example, leadership skills. When we do our youth empowerment center, youth empowerment sessions, we focus on building leadership skills in the kids, right? So that they can be role models within their communities. Also, anti-bullying. There's a lot of not just bullying in the schools or in the communities, but cyberbullying is another aspect of bullying that we don't like to talk about. And because social media is so prevalent, there's a lot of bullying that's going on with sexting and all of that. Another thing is teenage pregnancy. So for me, working in the field and actually coming in contact with these youth, it's like, okay, I want to make a difference. I want to make a change. And for example, I had a girl who was like 13. and she was dating like a 30-something-year-old man.
Mm.
If you looked at her, she didn't look 13. And, of course, it was reported to Children's Services and all of that, but it was consensual. And so she got pregnant, right? And of course, she wasn't given any names, she's smart, but that was like another statistic. So being able to put prevention services in place, that was something that we did with the youth empowerment sessions. And just like you said, with the backpacks. So everyone that came were given a backpack full of school supplies, and just to pass those backpacks out to those kids, it put a smile on their face and it made them feel better. So, yeah.
Okay. And when did you develop that passion? Was it when you were younger, or early on stages within your ministry or college, that you wanted to specifically, minister or in some way help, our youth out?
Okay, yeah. So I can remember when I was young. So let me just go back. One thing growing up, my father instilled in myself and my siblings was to always give back to those who are less fortunate, right? Because the Bible says that when you lend to the poor, it's like lending to him. And so, kind of fast forward, and when we were a little bit older, my mother used to volunteer at St. Stephen's. And so she would be there for Thanksgiving, helping out with passing out food. Also, they would pass out clothes, and I would be there and I would see their faces. And, and I just, at that time I said, you know what, I want to keep this up. I want to do this as I get older. I want to be able to help those who are in need. But what really kind of sparked the passion was I had a friend who was a teenager, and she got pregnant. I think she was like 15. And at that time, I was working at Dairy Queen, but I was also helping her out. I was buying groceries and I was helping with diapers and with clothes and stuff. I was a teenager doing this, right? So the passion has been there since I was like 14 or 15, helping out one of my friends who, was a teenage mom and needed help with just the bare essentials that, we take for granted, right? Hygiene products, just, different things. So for me, I just said, when I go to school, I wanted to kind of study that a little bit more to kind of see the dynamics and what it takes to actually become someone that's able to help in the social service field. And so that's kind of where my passion came from.
Yeah, it pretty much answered the the very next question I was going to ask you about, becoming a caseworker. So I guess that passion just kind of led to, hey, this is what you wanted to do as a career as well. Tell us about, what is the Esther Sanders Scholarship Awards Program for young adults?
Okay, yeah. So I totally forgot about that too. So what we do is, and to keep my mother-in-law's legacy alive, and I just honor her legacy. Mother Esther Sanders, just an epitome of a woman who's an epitome of Proverbs 31. Let me say that. She believed in helping. Just helping individuals. And what we do with that is we award scholarships to high school graduates. And so there's an essay that's involved. You have to write an essay. And then we have different individuals who find the best essay, right, according to those questions. And we award $1,000 scholarships to at least 3 or 4 different students. And so when COVID hit, we kind of stopped because we weren't able to come together, because usually we have that award ceremony. But that's something that we're going to start back up. Also, since we're on this, we also do something called Diapers for Babies. And that's kind of something that we do for mothers. We give out diapers for the first 6 months of that child's life. And that's something that my mother-in-law used to do when she was alive. She always bought diapers. She's like, I got you for the first year. And so we called it Bottoms Up, and it's Diapers for Babies. So we do that as well.
Okay, I like that name. As far as one more question about your youth empowerment sessions before we transition to something else, can you tell us any success stories of someone, you don't have to give a name, but maybe someone was in a circumstance, or coming to the sessions definitely helped them better their lives?
Yeah, sure. So we had just all different classes of kids that will come from all different socioeconomic statuses. Let me say that. So I tend to deal with a lot of our gangbangers, right? So one of the kids was in one of the well-known gangs. I won't say what it is, but he would come and, I think at the time, a guy was talking about leadership. And he always did this chant, which I really, really love, on leadership. And he came to all of the sessions. And of course, we feed the kids as well. And so he was in a gang, and I knew he was in a gang. And so we talked about it. And he said he wanted out of the gang. And so, as he began to come and listen about anti-bullying, about boosting his self-esteem, about job resources and all of that, he came back, I want to say the following year, and he said he was no longer in the gang. He was cleaned himself up. He was working at like one of the local restaurants, which was good. He graduated from high school, and, went through the self-recovery program, credit recovery, program. And so for me, that made me feel so good, because I'm like, hey, kudos, we're doing something. Lives are being transformed. And for me, that was a success story, not because he was in a gang, but because he was an African-American male, and he was not going to be that statistic that society has placed on him, which says that you won't make it to the age of 21. And so I believe in affirmations. And so that's another thing that he credited to his success. Was he was saying the affirmation is, I will be successful and I will live past my 21st birthday. And that was something that I would tell the kids to say daily, and of course, build upon that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I always know about you as well, that you definitely have a heart for women as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your women empowerment initiatives and things that you do to empower them and to, give them the resources to, stay strong and do all that, do all the things that they do?
Yeah. So thank you. I do something called Shine Like a Masterpiece coaching. And I did this prior to receiving my master's in clinical mental health counseling. And so these were individual sessions, and I still do them, but individual sessions to push and propel women to the next dimension in their life. Because as women, sometimes we feel depressed, we feel overwhelmed, we feel like we can't make it, we feel like we'll never shine or we'll never be anything. And so I did a lot of things, even at the church. Queens at the Table was a support group where women, we come together and we talked about self-care. We talked about building our self-esteem, how to make ourselves beautiful from the inside out, so that our inside matches our outside. So we're just not dressed up on the outside, but inside we're tore up, to make us love ourselves, to feel good about ourselves. And that was a 6-week program. And this was prior to COVID. And so I do that. Also, we do, I talked about the coaching. And I also do like the individual coaching as well. So I do group coaching and I do individual coaching as well. And it's just to allow for women to be themselves, to get to a place of vulnerability. Because a lot of times we have this mask on, we have this wall up, we have this barrier up because we don't want to be ourselves. And just a quick plug, I do have something coming up in September. It's called Get Up and Win, Holistic and Wellness International Encounter. And it's a spinoff of the global prayer that I do on Mondays nights on Facebook Live. And so it's a time for, I do a devotion and then we pray for things that we're going through and also for our nation. So yeah.
Now, we always, society, especially, you know, we talk about the pressures of being a man, but, you know, how difficult is it being a woman, you know, just as far as, you know, you have the appearance thing, you know, you have to try to keep up children, take care of your husband, like all these, you know, hats that you have to wear, you know, how difficult and overwhelming can it be at times?
Sometimes, Terrence, it can be very overwhelming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned to implement time management and prioritizing stuff. However, sometimes social media can have you looking like, okay, you're supposed to look this way, or you're supposed to talk this way, or you're supposed to walk this way. However, one thing that I've grasped is to be myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be the best version of who I am. And as women, we have to learn that we're unique. It's only one of us. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stuff that you see on social media is airbrushed. It's, you know, filtered. All of that is, mm-hmm. you know, what you see on social media. But the best thing is to be yourself. Yeah. And so for me, I am unapologetically me, and that's who I'm going to be. But sometimes there's times where I do feel overwhelmed. I do feel stressed. And for me, it's like I've learned to use that 2-letter word in the dictionary that we don't like to use. And that's no, I can't do it, or I can't show up. I won't be able to support you. However, I may send you a love gift, or I may send you, you know, mm-hmm. or something. But for me, just being able to prioritize everything, because when you have like a plate, like Thanksgiving, you have all of this food on this plate, right? Mm-hmm. And so you pack everything on that plate. And if you keep packing and packing and packing, eventually that plate is going to collapse. And yeah. sometimes in life, we put so much on our plate to where mentally we collapse. And so for me, I've learned to kind of backpedal. And I'm a calendar girl, right? And so I have to look on my calendar and say, okay, you know what? I thought I was going to be able to attend this, but I don't think I'm not, because I want to do this. Or I just want to have a self-care day. Like today, Saturday, is my self-care Saturday. So, and just being able to be a wife, a mother, and a friend, those roles are huge responsibilities, right? Because the first thing you're supposed to take care of is your home. I know some people do it backwards, but your home, right? Yeah, that's your foundation. That's your loving place. That's where you're able to unwind and be yourself. Like that's where your character lies, right? Is in your home, who you are. And so for me, if that is not together, then it will just reflect when I go out in the community, and I don't want to be just all in shambles.
Right. Now, how did you get into counseling? And, you know, some people may pastor and not necessarily have those certifications to counsel. So what made you want to do that?
Good question. So for me, just being in the ministry with my husband, I've come across a lot of different people. How about that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Let's keep it cool. Different people. Okay.
Right.
And so for me, just being able, like, you know, passing by these different types of personalities, because I feel like being in church, it's like a melting pot of personalities. So it's so many different personalities. And as you know, the church is supposed to be the spiritual hospital. So you'll get all types of people coming in, people who have broken legs, people who have a neck brace, or people. So, but mentally, a lot of people are mentally sick. And so for me, I would counsel people, and it would be from a biblical standpoint. And so I was in prayer, and the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, you're going to go back and you're going to get your degree. And I was like, oh, you know, I wanted to do that when I was 21, but then I got married. So I'm a little older now. So, but for me, because of what I experienced and what I've walked through, I felt like that clinical piece or that educational piece was just the icing on the cake, in order to see why some people come to church the way they do, or to see why we got family members that, you know, Ray and them and how they act, you know, to see why we're in the community and someone just busts out screaming, or, you know, but to learn and understand the physiological side of people. You know, I can understand the spiritual, but then there's a psychological side too. There's an emotional side that we sometimes demonize and say these are demons. And I'm not saying that spirits don't arise in people, but yet and still some things you just need to sit down and talk to somebody.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, over the years, some of the issues that you see, you know, how much is it connected to mental health?
I think, well, let me just go back and say this. It depends on, in African-American churches, right? Let me say that because that's predominantly what we pastor. Um, Mental health or mental illness is considered taboo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I know for me, I was taught, you don't go see a therapist, you just go home and pray about it, and God's gonna work everything out, right? And I believe in praying, but then there's more work to be done after
Mm-hmm.
you pray,
For
right?
sure.
And so I believe deliverance is a process.
Mm-hmm.
So once you pray, then there's some things that you need to do in order to maintain that deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times in church, I feel like people have experienced trauma, tragedy, and they don't want to talk about it because they're embarrassed or they're considered the perfect leader or the perfect parishioner, or the perfect person if you're in the marketplace, or the perfect person in cyberspace. And for me, I feel like some people need help, but they don't want to reach out and get it. So I think there's a large population that are suffering in silence, right? Because they're afraid to get help, they're embarrassed to get help, or they're just full of pride and they feel like they don't need help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes they have that narcissistic personality. And so I think in our African American churches, we're coming around, right? Because, you know, when COVID hit, mental illness, it spiked,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so people were in shambles, they didn't know what to do. So people were calling therapists, hey, I need to get in, I need to talk to somebody because I cannot stay inside my house, I got cabin fever. So I think there's a large amount of people who are dealing with mental illness. And you just have to go out and see a licensed professional counselor.
Okay. Now I see that you're getting back into television, so I'm very happy to see that, you know, and feel like, you know, feel like a you know, proud that I had like a little small part to do with your
Yes, you
foundation.
do.
So, you know, tell us about that.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank you for helping me to establish that foundation
That's
with
my
working
pleasure.
with Trinity Broadcast Network. So kudos to you and all of the team. So I had an opportunity with Sarah Grace TV. She reached out and we had a conversation, and she was doing it virtual. And we started talking about, hey, what about doing it in person, right? And so she used to do it in person, but COVID hit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things were relaxed as a result of COVID, but things are opening back up now. So it's actually in Knoxville, Tennessee. It is Sarah Grace TV. It's called Road to Damascus. And so I'll be pretty much interviewing individuals from all over the world. And, you know, from a spiritual standpoint, it's on 19 different stations. It's on U-verse TV, Roku, and I'm super excited. We start actually next month because I got some things that, you know, I'm already booked for, right, for
Mm-hmm.
this month. So
Mm-hmm.
we start, and I'm super excited. I'm super
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be awesome. Just keep me updated on it, and we'll definitely
Yeah.
promote it on this end. Tell us right quick about some of the books that you've written.
Yeah. So thank you. The first book that I was able to write is the Lord allowed for me to write was It's Time for Upgrade. And in that book, I talk about how I lost over 100 pounds. And it was a tough journey. Let me say that. Losing weight is just not the physical aspect, but it's also the mental aspect. So I talk about that journey and how I lost it in 4.5 months, no surgeries, no supplements. And the second book is Shine Like a Masterpiece. And in that book, I talk about how my character did not line up with my reputation. I was a victim of depression, anxiety, and I was not clinically diagnosed, but I had all the signs and symptoms. And it was, as a leader, I didn't want to address it. But at some point it was like, okay, I need to see a counselor. So I was able to see my therapist, who I love seeing, and was able to process some things. So in the book, I don't just talk about the issues, I also offer solutions, right? Because a lot of times we dwell on the issues of life, but we don't offer the solutions. So yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I know that you go out and speak. I've seen that you done some speaking in Africa and in different parts of the state. So what do you enjoy about going out ministering to different congregations?
Yeah, so I believe in preaching the good news of Jesus Christ, to offer hope to those who feel hopeless, hope to those who feel worthless, because I've been there before, so I know what that feels like. So the Lord has, and I give him all glory and honor, he has blessed me to be able to go out and speak. And I'm gonna kind of go back. My husband was the one who really pushed me, because I used to just, when I got married, I wanted to take care of my kids. And he was like, you need to get up and you need to speak. And I'm like, I need to take care of my kids right now. Mm-hmm. And so as they got older, Madison, I think, was like 5, and the Spirit spoke to me and said, it's time. So I was talking to my husband and he was like, okay. And doors just started opening. And so next week we're going to be in Barbados, in Trinidad, ministering. And then at the end of this year, we're going to be in Accra, because I don't want to say Accra, but Accra, Ghana, and we'll be ministering as well. And we have other places that we'll be ministering in between. But we're super excited. I enjoy doing the work of the Lord and seeing his him getting the glory and honor out of everything that I do. I just want to be his mouthpiece and his vessel for this season, because there's a lot of people who are dying. And so I feel like God has equipped me to go out, and I have my arsenal to go out and to preach the gospel to those that feel like they have no hope.
And I wanted to also ask you, who has influenced you over the years?
Oh, let me say, there's so many people. Can I do 2 people? Can I say 2 people? Yeah, okay. Sure. So one person that I think has really been an influential part in my life is, I love Joyce Meyer. I've read the majority of all of her books. And one book that she has written that has been influential in my life outside of her is The Battlefield of the Mind. And so I remember reading that book a long, long time ago. And back then, messages weren't as reachable as they are now. You can just at the click of a button. And so for me, she has influenced me to trust God in difficult situations, to pray, and to, be a good wife, right? And so another person is T.D. Jakes. So he's like a mentor in my head. She is too, but he's like a mentor in my head. Like I listen to him faithfully every Sunday after my service. Okay. And so for me, he's a thinker. And so he allows for me to think outside of the box. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would say them too.
Okay. And then I've just actually, I think today or yesterday, made a month I've been back in Columbus, but how have you and your family dealt with COVID over the last, 2 years in this particular area?
So it has been challenging, let me say, from, was it March 2020 is when we were sheltered in place. Yeah. And for me, I think I've experienced cabin fever. I was able to rest. So let me say that. I really enjoyed my home, because when you're always on the go, sometimes you don't enjoy like the things that you work so hard for. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was able to enjoy my home. I was able to enjoy family, being able to cook dinner. I was forced to cook dinner, right? I mean, I do cook dinner, but I'm talking about every day, right? Because I didn't want to order out, because I didn't know if the people behind the register or people behind the stove had COVID, right? Because I mean, they really try to inflict and incite fear in a lot of us, right? So for me, just being able to get closer to my children, my husband, family, being able to pick up the phone, to FaceTime my mother and father every single day was something that, I was able to do. But for me, it was also an opportunity for me to get closer to God. Like, to me, I felt like the world just stopped. And it was like, the Lord just said, everything's going to stop. Now it's time for you to really seek my face, because you don't have no other choice but to. I felt like when that plague came, it just allowed for not just the world, but for me, myself, and my family just to stop and to cherish the moments and to cherish the quality time. I felt like we had quality time, right, when COVID hit. So, and it has taught me some lessons too. So, yeah.
And what are your goals for the rest of 2022?
So my short-term goals, and this is what I want to accomplish within 3 months, is to, I have a test that I need to take. So I want to pass that test, and to finish a couple of books that I have already written. I just need to, tweak some things. Long-term goals is to travel the world, right? I got a lot of different countries on my bucket list. And to, another long-term goal is to own my own practice. And so I want to be able to counsel and just to help people to propel themselves to the next dimension in life, and so that they'll be able to reach their destiny. So yeah.
Okay. Now, before I get to the rapid fire question part, I just want to ask you a question about when you travel far away, or what's the longest flight that you've been on? Because I've been on, when I went to Korea, I think it was 16 hours. And I didn't know at first, like, man, what am I going to do being on this plane that long? But it really wasn't that bad for some reason. I mean, I guess I slept most of it, but and what is it like for you being on like long flights?
So for me, the longest flight that I was on, and there it was cut up, was to Dubai. Took us 19 hours to get there. And so for me, I'm a little different, Terrence. So for me, I got to get up and I got to walk around. Like, I just cannot sit there and watch movies. Like my husband, he'll watch movies. And, I'm like, well, I'm about to walk around like the plane and stuff like that. But for me, it's an opportunity for, of course, for me to think. I'm able to write my notes. You can write your notes like 5 or 6 times because you're on it for so many hours. And I'm not really a movie person, but, I try to sit and watch movies, but it's also an opportunity for me to sleep. And because prior to like COVID, we were constantly traveling. And I remember when we were on our way to Dubai, I slept a lot too. But just also just writing out like my short-term goals, my long-term goals, writing out those action plans, what has been executed. But for me, just being able to, I don't know, just rest my mind. Yeah. I enjoy that.
Okay. And then coming from someone who writes music, like how long does it take you to write like a book? And then like, what's your, you don't have to dab too much into your process, but you enjoy to type it out, come up with, bullet points and kind of go from there. What's your process?
Yeah. So let me say this, my first book, I typed it out and I made a mistake. I did not save it on a flash drive. So my computer crashed.
Wow.
Everything was lost, right?
Wow.
That was a teachable lesson. Yeah. But my second book, so with the first book, it took me probably a couple months, but my second book, I actually wrote it, I typed it out in Aruba. It took me 1 week. Wow. I was up at 5 a.m. Every morning, and my husband, he's a night owl. So I'm an early bird. So I was up just typing, and it took me 1 week, 7 days to write my second book. yeah, and the third book, which it's already completed. I just have to, you know, take pictures and stuff like that, which I'm waiting. It took me probably about a month to write that. So, you know, sometimes you have writer's block, but I don't know, for like with the second book, I had to relive some things. I was crying, I was happy, you know, it was some painful moments, some proud moments. But yeah, once you sit down and get buckled down, yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had, you know, times where it took me like you know, 3 weeks to like record an album or whatever. So I understand once you get in that zone, it's just sometimes you just stay locked in.
Yeah.
Well, I do this in every program. I kind of throw a couple of rapid fire questions that you just answer to the best of your capability and answer the first thing that comes to your mind. And the first one's going to be a little bit of pressure on you, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Not, you know, you can't say your husband on this one, but your favorite preacher.
I'll have to say T.D. Jakes.
Okay. All right. Favorite film?
I'm Waiting to Exhale.
Okay. Favorite actor?
You don't get me because I'm trying to think. Angela Bassett.
Okay. All right. You have a favorite recording artist?
I like Tamala Mann.
Okay. And what do you do for fun?
Oh, I travel. When I do travel, I love to do excursions. If it's zip lining, if it's scuba diving, even though I can't swim, but I have on my life jacket. Running is something that I like to do too.
Favorite places to travel?
I love Aruba. Okay. Aruba, Dubai, Dominican Republic. I've only been in, I call it Mexico because it's Mexico, right? But Mexico, I've been there one time. I want to go back. And New York City.
Okay. Favorite food?
It is a grilled chicken Caesar salad.
Okay. Hot or cold?
Hot.
All right. And what's a place that you want to travel to that you haven't been to yet?
So what is on my bucket list is Bora Bora. And it is on my bucket list. I told my husband maybe within the next 5 years we can go. Because it's out in the middle of like, you know, like their resorts are out in the water. So yeah.
And what motivates you?
My children.
All right. And then when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
That I want people to remember me by how I help people and what I did for the community, what I did for my children, what I did for my husband, and honestly, what I did for myself.
All right, Shaletha, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
For those who are interested in learning more about your books, maybe, you know, you coming to the church to speak or just counseling sessions or your Zoom specials or whatever you have going on, how can they link up with you?
So I'm on all of the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Really, my daughter is the one on Snapchat. Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Shaletha Sanders. Also, you can go to my website for any bookings at www.shalethasanders.org.
All right. I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast today. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. I want to thank everybody for their support, those of you that have been watching all of our podcasts. If you're interested in donating to the Stage is Mine podcast, you can send that 2 ways, via PayPal or Cash App. Our Cash App is Terry from the A, and our PayPal is EETV101. Support this machine today to help us continue to do what we're doing. Also, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the Stage is Mine podcast, email me today at EETV@yahoo.com or call 334-498-5394. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for tuning into today's program. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for all things pertaining to the Stage is Mine podcast. Until next time, take care. Go for broke, give everything, better yet, give your all. They don't want to see you win, nevertheless, show evolve. Want to see my demise, you can be in for a surprise, cause the sun ain't about to set.